All right, we are in Phoenix, site of games 1 and 2 of the NBA Finals. A lot of cactuses, not gonna lie. Suns will look to take a 2-0 series lead tomorrow night, so it is time to run it back to Chris Paul's top plays of the playoffs so far. Oh, the music, I love it. Number 5, going behind the back on the baseline.
Tough. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
Seen all this before.
I was gonna say.
Yes. I know we're not supposed to be biased, but I'm just so happy for Chris, man. The former teammate, good friend, just to see all this unfolding in the 16th year.
You're allowed to be happy for your friends.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not a rule of TV.
Yeah.
Number 4, no look to Saric. Robert, what do you think?
Well, you know, Chris Paul, he has that look away down to a key, and he just tricks everybody, and the passes are right on point. Well, if he wouldn't have scored this CP3 pass that you do, I'm never passing you the ball again because I set it up beautifully for you.
Number 3 gets to his spot in Staples.
I mean, I think that's what we're seeing in the finals. You know, I mean, they're playing drop coverage, they're playing switch coverage. Chris is getting right to his spots where he knows his bread and butter is made, and he's hitting these shots.
Amazing, too, and some irony, he played 2 series of this playoffs at the Staples Center. Right? And I know that advancing to the finals in that building meant a lot to him. Number 2, showing off the handles, and then Robert, he dimes up Torrey Craig.
So you hit him with the crossover. Millsap, a little too old to guard me, man. Get out of the way, and the guy just shoots through the lane. Torrey Craig, layup. He sets it up. Like I said, he sets the table so wonderful these guys to score.
Ooh, and number 1, the yo-yo on Nikola Jokic.
He does that. He also does this thing that to refs, to make refs mad. Sometimes he'll put a spin on the ball when he throws the ball to the ref so it comes back to him instead of the ref. So I know he used to piss refs off that way, but he's so clever and tricky with the ball, man. I'm just enjoy to see it.
Woo. Chris Paul just lights out, right, in game 1, guys. 32 points. He also had 9 assists. And let's take a look. He entered the series with odds to win Finals MVP plus 160. He's now listed at minus 140 to win the award. This is according to Caesar Sportsbook by William Hill. The next closest players, Devin Booker at plus 450, and then Giannis also at that same mark. Matt, are you buying CP3 as Finals MVP?
Absolutely. I think everything is aligning perfectly, Rachel. I mean, it took him 16 years to get here. Should have been here a few times before. He's finally here. He's on the biggest stage. He's as healthy as he can be. He's leading a young team that didn't even make the playoffs last year, playing great basketball. He may not have to score 30 every game, but he's always going to have his imprint on the game from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint.
What do you think, Robert?
You know, Rachel, you use the term point guard. This guy is controlling the game. He's putting everybody in positions to be great. Not good, but great. When you have a teammate that can do that for you and set the table for himself, take advantage of his opportunities. Lopez, what are you trying to do? You can't guard me. Going to the hole, scoring. He is going to be the MVP. If he continues to stay healthy and do this type of stuff for the Phoenix Suns, getting his first chip and his first Finals MVP.
Of course, the Bucks will have something to say about that. They would like the Finals MVP to come from their team, just saying. So we'll see how that goes for the rest of the series. I do want to get back into the game action a little bit before we go, because early in the third quarter, Chris Paul, he pulled up over Brook Lopez. Now, Brook landed in CP's landing zone. Sorry, Brook was stepping in CP's landing zone. CP3 crashed to the ground. Lopez was assessed a, quote, reckless closeout for that flagrant one. So, Robert, I'll start with you. Do you agree that this should have been a flagrant?
Well, this is one of those things that go back and forth, because if there's been a guy wearing a size 10, it wouldn't have happened. Brook Lopez is 7'1", big feet. They get in the way sometimes. I don't think it's a flagrant, but this is this day and age of the NBA when a guy goes up on it. You know, I experienced that in game with Kobe Bryant and with Jalen Rose sticking his foot purposely under Kobe's foot to get him hurt. But I don't think this was malicious, and I think it shouldn't have been a flagrant.
I think this, as Rob said, this is just where the game is at now. I know that Brook had no malicious intent when he did it, but it's just a part of the game, because when you're up in the air, you are the most vulnerable player on the floor, and they want to protect their players. Luckily, when I saw this, I saw it wasn't a full roll, and I knew he'd be okay. I was, a part of the Warriors team, actually healing from an ankle injury when Zaza had the Kawhi situation. Kawhi was cooking us, and, that ankle went out, and he was done for the rest of the series. Our team went on and won a championship, but you always want to protect guys in the air. So, again, I don't think some guys do it purposely. This Brook Lopez, but definitely wasn't intentional.
That video is why the rule was adapted and changes, and why people refer to it as the Zaza Pachulia rule.
Or
Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you back tomorrow. for Game 2. Let us now welcome in a man who is no stranger to an NBA Finals. The gentleman here earlier, Robert, we're talking about, hey, you never know when you're going to get to a Finals. It took Chris Paul 16 years to get here. Guess what? Robert Horry was here and won it 7 times. Welcome, of course, to the show, Robert. So happy to have you today.
Thanks for having me. I wish I could be in Phoenix with you guys, but I'm in the studio by myself enjoying this moment, but I think I know why I'm not in Phoenix.
Well, we'll get to your history against the Phoenix Suns shortly. Don't worry, that will be addressed on today's show. But I do want to get to Adam Silver and the commissioner's comments last night, guys. He gave his sort of annual Game 1 of the Finals address, and among the questions he got was about the play-in tournament, whether it was here to stay after working first in the bubble, kind of an emergency triage situation, and then this year in that COVID-shortened season. Take a listen to what Adam said.
It's my expectation that we'll continue it for next season. We both, of course, need agreement from our teams and the Players Association. And I know, Michelle Roberts doesn't have an easy job. She has 450 players. Some maybe have louder voices than others at the table. But again, I think ultimately, although there were critics, not just LeBron, but others who weren't in favor of it, and maybe some teams who weren't thrilled with it, I think overall it was very positive for the league and the players. I mean, certainly there's been some suggestions about some tweaks we should consider. It's my expectation that it'll continue for next season.
So, Robert, you were right in the thick of this because the other broadcast team you work with locally in L.A., the Lakers, that Lakers squad, was in the play-in tournament. So you got to see it up close. Do you think it was a success this past year? Are you happy that it seems like it's going to stay?
I'm happy for the fans, but personally, I'm not a fan of it because I hate when a team works so hard to get in that 8th spot. The next thing you know, you have to play one game, you have a bad game, you lose that game, then you got to play another game, and you have another bad game, you lose that game. So I'm thinking like Steph Curry. We missed a golden opportunity to see a guy who should have been MVP play in the playoffs, do some things that's extraordinary. But because they didn't win, because they fought so hard to get to that 8th seed, they're not in the playoffs. So we missed that. And there's no disrespect to Ja Morant because he's an up and rising star. He's trying to get his foot in the door so people can know who he is. But Steph has both feet in the door. He's in the building. We know who he is. And I wanted to see that because this guy could have did something. Who knows? He could have got to the second round and upset Utah. So that's why I'm not a fan of the play-in.
Robert and I had this very discussion on camera before the play-in. And really what I learned from his, that's a persuasive case you can't argue that he just made. But what I learned is there are 2 separate cases here that are not going to intersect. Like, going into this, Robert had convinced me, because everything he said I agree with. And then I watched it. And I was like, oh, my God, this is so exciting, the drama and the pressure. So if I was playing, I would not want any part of this. But as somebody just watching it and observing it, I can't wait to get in front of the TV with the popcorn. Or if I'm there in person, which I hopefully going forward with no pandemic, we can see. It's so exciting to watch. So I just think there's a difference of opinion, which is never, again, not going to overlap or intersect.
Completely understand where Rob is coming from as a player fighting. I've been on a team that's at 8th or 7th seed, and I would have been mad if we got knocked out in a play-in game for the situation. But from a fan's perspective, because I'm a fan now, I loved it. It kept the enthusiasm. It kick-started the playoffs, and viewership was off the charts. And, at the end of the day, that's what it's about. But I will say this. We need to start talking to players more and listening to players more because we're also hearing that they could do a mid-season tournament, which I don't think is a good idea at all. You have to get these guys some rest. You have to listen to them because the game is so much different now than it was when I played, definitely when Rob played. So the wear and tear on these guys' bodies is different. We saw a lot of injuries, and, this kind of stuff can add to it. So, again, I love it from a fan standpoint. I know the fans love it from a player standpoint. I want to know what they think, and you've heard what they think, and they don't really like it.
But can I add something, though?
Please, Robert.
The interesting thing is we lucked up this year. We had Steph Curry, Ja Morant. We had 4 teams without injuries, probably been top 4. Think about that. We lucked up. Will we be like this next season where the top guys are hurt and they're on I won't say sorry team, but they fell they fell to a lower seed. So will we have that next season? That's my problem with the play-in tournament.
That is how a man with 7 rings talks.
Yes.
He can just say, oh, yeah, that team's sorry. I'm just going to be straight with all of you. I will say also as a fan, the idea that it created 3 different levels of competition and that kind of dead part toward the end of the regular season that sometimes feels, just a slog to get through.
No tanking. Tanking. People were trying to they thought they could get in.
Okay, we had a little tiny bit of tanking.
Okay, but less than usual.
Houston, Oklahoma City. But I will say this, that you had the competition at the top for those top seeds, right? Like you always have. You had that competition at the 6th spot, right? Don't get in the play-in tournament. And then even the 9 or 10 teams, right? I love seeing the Wizards be involved in this, and they were a team that wouldn't be in the playoff bracket if they hadn't been. So it was nice to see all of that. We will find